Hello, I'm Dana Louise Smith, the Queen of Business Organisation, and I'm really excited today to bring you Katie Curtis, a special guest of mine that is going to be sharing something around a topic that I love talking about, but I'm interested to hear her take on it because I'm all about building balance within your business. So we're going to be talking about specifically being caught in the middle. So Katie's going to talk to us about what that's all about. But before we do get into that, Katie, would you like to introduce yourself and who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Kate Curtis. I am the sandwich generation coach, which is quite an American term, actually, sandwich generation. It's kind of slowly filtering into the UK, and it's about us. It's about that generation that are between growing children, um, probably kind of tween teen age, and then aging parents that need us. So where you think your kids are becoming more independent and you can kind of pull back a little bit, actually there's a little bit of regression really from the parents and you end up looking after them, hence the kind of caught in the middle bit.
Mm.
So I help people with their business, but I also help people with their lives, so a bit of life coaching, bit of business coaching and mentoring as well, just helping them kind of do that transition and navigating it all. It creates such a ripple of different things in life to juggle and manage.
It's very specific that as well, isn't it? And I love it. Because I've actually met quite a few business owners that do have a juggle, like you say, their kids have kind of flown the nest, so to speak, but now they're taking care of parents or maybe even the partners. Like for me, I obviously have 10 children and my husband with disabilities, so I like kind of have that to juggle. And that I connect with people and manage on that, but I can't imagine being in the caught in the middle really of that. And plus, when we're usually at that point of our life as a woman, we have extra things thrown in, don't we, as well?
Oh,
Just
we
because
do.
we're
Yeah.
nice Brucey boy on the street. I was actually going to ask you first of all about what is the sandwich generation, but you've got into that straight away, which is great. So I didn't even need to ask. um, but I would like to know more about what actually brought you to support people specifically with this because it's so different, it's so unique,
Mm.
which I love. It's very niche. So I'd like to hear more about the story behind that actually.
Yeah, of course. I'll try and make it brief. But ultimately, I've been a business owner for years and years, had a bookkeeping practice for a decade after I had my kids. And then I loved that. But what I really enjoyed was being kind of from a vantage point, looking at the business and dealing with the business owner. And then I thought, right, I'm going to go into coaching. So when COVID hit and everything kind of slowed down, that's when I did my coaching qualification. So that was really good because I had that under my belt, kind of tucked away, always to come back to. And then I actually used that to go and get a job. And I worked with people that were unemployed. They've been unemployed for a long time. I worked alongside the job centre as on a government scheme. But then my mum and dad fell ill. So in May 22, after tests and things, my mum had a formal diagnosis, sorry, of Alzheimer's, which kind of threw us all really. And we carried on and carried on, and I was working. And then in the January 23, my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's. So
Wow.
ultimately, I got to about Easter 2023, and I knew that I had to quit my job. So I
Mm.
quit my job and became there for them full time, ultimately. So I have then been able to fall back on my previous experience in business and in coaching to start kind of creating my business as well as looking after what feels like everybody.
Yeah, often it
Yeah.
feels like where's the time for me in all this? I know
Yeah.
I definitely. I mean, I do prioritize my self care, but sometimes I'm like, I just want to sit and do nothing where
Yeah.
nobody wants me.
Yeah.
If that's what I'm actually doing after this podcast,
Yeah.
like I already set that boundary this morning, which is
Yeah.
important, isn't it? When you're building a balance,
It's really
absolutely.
important. And I think the thing that called me to do this work was the fact that it's a huge process to navigate because
Yeah.
all your relationships change. You know, you were a daughter, so I was a daughter. I would go to my mum and dad for advice, maybe financial support every now and then or whatever. And that's completely reversed. And now I'm the
Yeah.
kind of matriarch, and everyone comes to me saying, oh, we need this and we need that. And what happens about, and then that puts extra pressure on my marriage. It puts pressure on my relationship with my children. It really is a big thing to navigate. And I just think that society is asking us to have all of these things come at us at once: relationships, parents, kids, menopause, try and
Yeah.
work, try and bring in the money. And we're just kind of meant to suck it up and be like, yeah, that's fine. I can do
It's
that.
true though, isn't it?
You know what I
I
mean?
actually, yeah, I remember being in the middle, not stuck in the middle in this aspect, because I mean I'm not there yet. Although when you're speaking, it reminds me of like some situations like with my own mum, and like she's not at a point where I'm like caring for her, but like even with her challenges at where she's at with her life, I feel like I have to be the grown up now. I am ready to grow up. I'm only in my 30s,
Yeah,
but in terms of like when my husband's had his surgery, I have gone through, he's like my right hand man. He's like, he's my wingman in business because he
yeah,
does the stuff that I need him to do. Obviously, when he's ill and he can't, he doesn't, and I have to do it all. But
yeah,
I'm kind of a bit better at managing that now. But previous to this, when he had his surgeries, for example, I used to find it really hard for everybody to want everything from me all of a sudden overnight. Because one
yeah,
day he's fine, next day he goes for surgery and he can't walk. And actually, that comment was thrown at me the last time. Why is it such a struggle? Why is it hard? Like other women, it was like other women do it. How do you think single women do it? And I'm like, but I'm not a single woman that's had this transition. I've actually had it happen like that overnight, and it's reminding me of that actually. And we are just expected to do it.
mm,
And I was actually going to say, like, what do you think the midlife collision could look like? What challenges do you think we can face? But actually, we kind of already started getting a bit into that. But what specifically do you think people are experiencing or thinking, feeling? Do you think they've kind of fully stepped back from work and they're torn because they still want to work? I know that was something that presented itself for me, because I love working, I love doing things. So
mm.
obviously I chose self-employment. But you think a lot of people do get kind of stuck.
Yeah, massively. And I think, the problem is, as I just said, we are just expected to carry on and do it. I think many of us feel quite resentful,
Yeah.
frustrated.
Mm.
I'm 45, my children are 12 and 14. So I've done the little kid thing. I've had to pause my work when they were sick, or I've had to work around school runs, and I've not had that freedom. I've had to kind of go along with their schedule, and then finally I get to this stage where they have that independence. Like for now they're off with their friends, it's summer holidays, they've got on the bus, they've gone into town, la la la, brilliant. But I'm back now working on someone's schedule again, and I never thought
Yeah.
I'd at 45. I thought this would be mine and my husband's time to start enjoying themselves a bit, being able to go to the pub on a Friday night, being able to go on holiday and actually have a little bit more freedom. So I think there's some bit of resentment. It's also for me a little bit of, I don't know, I have spoken to other people and they felt the same, a little bit of grief. And I think that's dependent on how much into the caring role you're in with your parents.
Yeah.
And obviously with my mum, I lose, a little bit of my mum chips away every day. And so I'm dealing with the frustration of having to look after her at times, in all honesty, but then the grief of
Yeah.
losing her. So I have to kind of put an armor on when I go in their house, kind of prepare myself, think, let's just do this and just kind of get on with it and flick a switch. And I think I don't want to have to do that. Like, I want to have my
Yeah.
time, my freedom. I want to be able to do what I want to do. That is very difficult when you're employed to do that. I'd love for my work to extend where I can go into some employers and help them understand the impact of it, because it is like your parents regress. And there is, I think employers are becoming much more aware of flexible working for mothers with young children and that kind of thing. But I think us at the other end of the spectrum, we're
You get
kind of
ignored.
out. We're kind of
Yeah.
expected, just like, well, you've had your time, but we're
Mm.
still the nurturers. We're still the ones that take care of everybody. If you're a daughter, the chances are it's going to fall on you. And that that might upset some people, but in my experience, in all the
But
forums that I'm
yeah,
in, it's women. That is
yeah,
it, women. So yeah, I mean, I don't even know if that's answered your question, Danny, because I might have just
it
rammed.
has. It
Okay.
has. And do you know what? I love your honesty with that there, because actually you've just brought to my mind someone in my family who, I won't say who it is, it's, protection for them, but they were in a full-time working role and are now it's fallen on the daughter
Mm,
to care for her father-in-law
mm,
because nobody else is. And everybody else works full time, but yet she's the one it's fallen on. And she's actually had to reduce her hours, and she's confided in me about how stressful it is because she's having to do this something that she didn't expect to do. Because actually, my own parents are doing living life, going. My mum every week she has off work, she's going on holiday now,
good for
and I
her.
love seeing that because I'm like, I want
Good
that
for
to be
her.
my future. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want to travel as much as my mum does. It's not the life for me. Oh, jet lag, no thanks. But I love that she's living life now that we've grown up, but then still comes and sees us at the weekends. It's
Yeah.
just nice to have that. It's nice to see that. But when you're thinking, oh, that'll be us in future, you never think actually that could be taken away at any point
I think
if our
that's
parents get ill.
that's a massive key thing for me. I think I would love to urge people to start having those conversations with their family, because it literally changed overnight for us. You know, my mum started to
Yeah.
notice some niggles, and then she was diagnosed. My brother and my dad couldn't believe it. They were like, what? And then within a year, our whole dynamic of our family had changed. And it felt so quick and so thrown into it. And we now have to have conversations about things that are very candid and very open. And I would really, say to families to be a little bit more like that, and just say, if you get sick, what are you going to expect from me? Do you need me? Do you want me to care for you? Because I wouldn't want anyone to be stuck into a situation that they're not enjoying, that they don't want to be part of, they don't want to be involved in through guilt, or,
Or that they feel they have to, I guess,
because they
sometimes.
feel, yeah, because they didn't have that conversation. They don't really know if they're doing something for the best.
Yeah.
And I always say that to my dad, can we talk about these things now? Because if things get worse, I don't want to have to guess what you
Yeah.
wanted or what your plans were or something. So within my work, it is about that. It's dealing with things upfront and honest and open, because I don't think we talk about aging enough and how much we need people when we're aging.
And we
Um,
kind of need to prepare for it, I guess, in a way, don't we? And I
yeah,
love that it sounds like your clients really get support with you around this and the way because it will impact their mindset. It'll be frustrating,
it
like you
does. Yeah,
say. Maybe they'll even be full with anger. So you can deal with that to then allow them to release it to move forward. And if the business owners focus on their business then, because I
yeah,
think while we've got that stuff that we're dealing with, we actually can't move on from it, can we? So
no.
how would, when you're working with someone and you're navigating this, how would you, what's like your best advice on finding balance as like a busy business
Mm,
owner, but I guess busy in terms of being like that carer and in
mm,
the trapped in the middle, I guess, and juggling those midlife collisions.
mm. So I think the biggest thing is working out what you need first, because we do every and then we put ourselves at the
Yeah.
bottom, and women everywhere do that regardless of what situation they're in. So that could look very practically like a planner. So I have a Google Calendar, and on that I plot in there my things. So this is when I want to work, this is when I want to work, this is when these are my client times, and everything else has to fit around that. And you have to be strict with boundaries. There is no other way. I firmly
Yeah.
believe in saying, this is my time and this is fenced off for me. And actually, if I look at it over a week, I might have a few hours for me. I'm still giving a huge amount of myself away to other people. But the time that I have for me is so precious and it's so important, because it gives me a sense of self. It gives me a sense of identity. And I would always suggest to clients that the first thing they do is block out and say, well, this is where I need to be for myself. And then fit everything else around it. And don't be afraid to communicate that to people and say, I can come, but I'm not going to be there until 11. And I always explain it. I never just say to my parents, well, I can't be there until midday. You know,
Mm.
I will say something like today, I've had a really busy day today, I have lots going on, but I always say to them, I manage their expectations of me, that I'll be like, well, I've got to do this, and I've got to do this. But then for this period of time, you've got me
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. That when I'm there, I'm completely and utterly present with them. And then the other times I completely focus on my work. And it's so, so important to do that. So it's boundaries, and communication is massive. I don't think, I mean, time management, yes, but it's really plotting it and sticking to it. It's so important.
I
And
agree
realizing,
100%.
yeah, and understanding that you are so important in all of this. Like you're the one that's
Yeah.
driving. You're in the driving
Yeah,
seat. You
because
the brains.
without you, there's no one to care for the people that need
Yeah,
caring. There's no one to care for the clients or the customers, whatever your
yeah.
business is, at
Like
all. So we do need to put ourselves first, don't we?
absolutely. They are in complete control of their choices.
And I do the same thing with my kids. So obviously at the other end of the scale, so
Yeah,
I don't, obviously I'm not your ideal client, I'm not in that midlife point. I maybe we'll get to that eventually, especially with my own husband when he needs more care,
yeah.
as because he will be in a wheelchair, we know this. And I've accepted that, that's okay. So I'll find my way. I might have to come to you then and
I'll be
navigate
here,
through
Danny,
that.
waiting. Yeah.
Yeah. See you in 20 years, fingers crossed it will be for him. But when we get to that point, it's good to know there's someone out there that gets it, which is it's
Yeah.
so good because you just never realize that there's this opportunity to still be able to do what you want to do, still make money and work and earn and yeah, and balance. But I do this with my kids, like setting boundaries. Like when I'm at literally done it this morning, like exactly what you've just said. Mummy, because it's summer holidays, and we're recording this, and I'm like, Mummy's working. I've actually not had a lot of sleep, so I've said to them and my husband, when I finish work, I'm gonna go have a quick little nap. If I can't sleep, I'll do a meditation, so they'll leave me alone, and then I'll come back into the family, like in the living room, and we'll play that board game that we didn't get to play yesterday,
Yeah.
so that I can be fully present. Because for me, I don't want to. Say they want to watch a film instead, and I know I'll be falling asleep because I'll be
Mm,
that tired. I mean, I feel okay at the minute, but it has happened before. We sat down to, and I'm falling asleep, so I'm actually going to look after myself first to come back to it. And I
yeah.
think it's so easy to implement that people just forget. They do
We
forget.
forget. And I think because you get carried away in the busyness of it all,
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
every day I stop and I think, right, what's happening today? And I take a minute and think, okay, and I kind of visualize how that day's going to look. How do I need it to run? And then move on. It's just a little bit of a pause before we run ahead, I think.
Oh, so aligned with like what I do, just in a different niche. I love it. And you talk as well about leaving a legacy as well. So I'd like to touch upon that.
Mm,
Like, what are your thoughts around this? And build it so like obviously this will come after you've built your business and like
yeah,
you what are you leaving behind, like what's the story there around leaving a legacy after you've
yeah,
had this balanced lifestyle, after you've come out of the collisions and the midlife, yeah,
yeah.
how's that look?
So it's kind of twofold for me. One thing was almost my parents' legacy, was because this is a very difficult season for us as a family. I wanted something good to come out of it. And I wanted to look back on it and for their legacy to me to be, yes, this was a crappy time and it was hard for you, but look what it gave you. It gave you these tools and these skills and this experience that you can now build on and use going ahead. But also for me personally, it's about um, setting that trail, because as we move forward through the generations, people are going to keep aging forever. People having kids later. And as I said before, us as women, we're expected to just carry on and do it. I really want to speak up about that. And I want people to see that this is a real thing. You know,
Mm.
this is an actual season in life that we do need to acknowledge and realize that we're putting an awful lot of pressure on the women at this time of life. It's not fair. We can't carry it all. So I want my legacy to be, I'd love to be able, it sounds very morbid, but to lie on my deathbed and think, I did what I could, I spread the word, and I help people understand that it doesn't have to be like that, that we are in control of our choice. We can still live our dreams. We just maybe have to tweak it and do it a little bit differently, but we can do it. I truly believe we can all do it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I hope someone's listening today and thinking, you know what, she's right, and they're going to do something about it and change just even one thing, which I'm sure it will make an impact in that way. What a legacy to leave. That's just
The
amazing.
plan.
And I'm grateful that I've had you here to be able to use your voice to say about it because it's been such a real and honest, open conversation as
Thank
well.
you.
If anyone's listening and they are in that point and they're feeling some of the things we talked about, maybe they're having the same challenges and they want to reach out for some support, how can they come and connect with you?
The easiest way is Instagram. I'm on Instagram every day. And my handle on there is the Sandwich Generation Coach. There's not many of us. It's to say it's still in its infancy, really, as a term. Just find me on there, drop me a DM, or you can email me hello@kate-curtis.com. It's the easiest way to find me.
And we'll drop the links anyway. It'll be in the show
Thank
notes
you.
for everybody to click on and come and check you out. And I think it's really good, a good handle name actually. It makes you curious, doesn't it? And I love anything like that.
Kind of does what it said on the tin, I think.
It definitely does. Once you know the meaning behind it, because I've
Yeah.
not actually heard this term before until I met you, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's very different, and I do love how different it is. So definitely, I think it's definitely eye-catching, creates curiosity, and I definitely what you do gets people asking questions that maybe we're not open enough to ask. So if it does that, you are leaving that legacy you're talking about.
Thank you.
And it has made me think now, maybe I should ask my parents, like, when they're older and they're getting, and then, you know, and maybe if they get ill, what do they want? So I'm going to ask them that actually. So thanks for that.
All right.
I always ask my guests at the end of the episode the same question.
Yeah.
And it's relating back to what I do as the Queen of Business Organisation. And that is, what would you reckon your best top tip is for being organised within your business?
My schedule, 100%. It's having my Google Calendar on my phone, one calendar for everything.
Yes.
Is the simplest. Without that, my whole life and my business falls apart. But I've nice blocked off in different colours, and I know exactly where I'm going to be at any point in the day. And if I stick to that, everything will run okay. But having that on my phone means that I can be booking a dentist appointment for my mum, and make sure it doesn't collide with time for my clients or whatever. That's my, yeah. Without that, I'd be lost. It's very
I
simple.
do exactly the same. I was like,
nothing groundbreaking.
we don't need groundbreaking stuff though. We just need the simple stuff because it works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was literally at the dentist last week. I went for a checkup. I need a fill-in, the joys, and I was booking in my next appointment to get it done. And I always go, "Can I have another Wednesday, please?" Because it's my day off every single time. Because I know they're going to try off for me like Thursday or Friday, and they're my client focus days. And I'm like, no, because then I have to totally change what feels like my whole day just to get to this one 15-minute appointment just to have a fill-in.
And that's so,
So
interesting
yeah,
as well, because that's one thing I've learned recently as well, because of having caring for different people. I do certain things on certain days, and that has helped. Like you're saying, Wednesday's your day off. So, you know, I have certain things that I do for the family on certain days. So I know the slots of times off the top of my head. I think that's the best day for that, and that's the best day for that. So yeah, again, scheduling, blocking time, scheduling, that kind of stuff.
That's exactly how I do it. So like if someone messages me and we're trying to arrange something and they go Monday, for example, I'm like, well, no, because that's the time I know that's my content creation day. That's when I'm with my business. We have the same business coach, don't we? And that's when I'm with my business coach. And so I'm like, no, I can't do that day. How about this? And I'll direct them to either a Tuesday or Thursday when I am doing calls and things. If that's what it is. But like when I say days off, I still do. I do the other things like dentist appointments. Yesterday it was painting my daughter's bedroom and rearranging furniture, which was stressful. I'm not over it yet. But yeah, things like that are just the in between, and then maybe even some life admin, what I call it, these things that I want to get done around my work. So I always make time for those on my days off as well as relaxation,
really
which
important.
I do prefer the relaxing stuff. But yeah, I'm the same. I work exactly the same, and I love it. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode.
Absolutely welcome. It's a pleasure.
Oh, I'm so excited for it to be released out to the world, for them to hear this and hear your story, because I know it's going to have an impact. So yes, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.